Okay. And Kelly, if you could pin our guest just so that they're spotlighted. So Michelle, I think Ibiyemi, I saw her name come up. Yourself. And Veena when she comes up as well.
So I have Michelle and I. Who else?
Ibiyemi. And I think Veena, she should be joining shortly. And then I think, I wonder if I can. Okay, that's good. That should be good. Okay,
You
awesome.
might be able to put speaker in parentheses after at the end of each of our names if you want to. That can make it clearer for participants who's doing what.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks, Michelle. Don't know if you're able to do that, Kelly, but if you can, that's awesome. But it's 5:02, so I see that there's people coming in, which is great. Seeing a lot of familiar faces, and to everybody that's new, welcome. So glad that you're able to join us today. I'm gonna pin us as well, Kelly. I hope that's okay. Or I'll pin myself for now since I'm speaking. Okay, so just to get, because this is a short event, it's only for an hour, and I want to make sure that we have enough time for all of our speakers. We'll get started, and people can continue to join as they do. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for making the time to attend this event. I'm really excited about you hearing from all of our amazing speakers and what they have to share. Before we get to them, I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro about just who I am and kind of why this event is happening and our goal here today. So for those of you who may not know me, my name is Apira. I actually graduated with a Bachelor's of Science degree and back in 2012 from University of Toronto at the Scarborough campus. So I'm a Scarborough girl, and I first, oldest in my family, and aside from one uncle that I have, I'm like the first one to go to college. And so after I graduated, there was like this huge sense of like confusion and not knowing what like life after that was gonna look like. Um, I didn't really have a lot of direction. Like I said, I did science. I did biology and health sciences. I knew that I didn't want to work in a lab. That was basically all that I knew. And then aside from that, I didn't really know what the next step looked like. I wanted to work with people. I know that was another thing, but going into like a more professional field, science related meant that at least from what I thought it meant was that I needed to do further education, whether that, maybe master's or something else. And I didn't know, there was just a lot of like uncertainty, lack of clarity. And so I was in a place where I was just like, okay, we'll take some courses and see if I can figure out what that interest looks like. Um, and then I ended up just looking for some part-time jobs, just I guess in the meantime. And so that lasted like 2 years, and I was like, okay, I need a full-time job now. It's about time. And so one day I was just like, okay, I'll take whatever I can get essentially, and end up getting this opportunity to work in a collections as a collections agent, which, wasn't ideal because there's this whole like, I guess collections doesn't have the best rep as a role, and it wasn't, I wasn't looking super excited about it initially, and I actually responded saying I wasn't interested, but then I like quickly changed my mind. I'm like, no, you know what, this is an opportunity, let me like take advantage of it. And so I went for it, and I'm glad that I did, because that actually turned into like a whole 10-year long career that I'm still with that same company today. And so it's I guess it goes to show that you don't really know, not everything's kind of like super predictable. Things can change along the way, and sometimes you kind of have to like just take those chances. At least that's how it was for me. But how it kind of turned into this career coaching, career stuff is you know, I didn't, you know, it was work, it was full-time work, but it wasn't like what my passion was, what was fulfilling, what my, you know, wasn't really fulfilling me. It was paying the bills, which is amazing. And I have gained so much experience um from it, and I've met some amazing people. So there's definitely lots of positives, but I was still searching for that thing that I knew that I wanted to do, and it kind of led me to this career space. I was a people manager, so I got a chance to help people with their career growth during that time at work, and I have one of my team members here actually, which is awesome to see. Um, hey Linda. And so I got to do that, and then I knew that I kind of did bits and pieces where I got to help people like in different ways throughout my life, and so I really liked that. So I wanted to do something where we got a collaboration. We got an opportunity to speak with lots of different career experts, sharing their advice and sharing their tips, and being that available to people like, you know, yourselves, job seekers, career professionals that may not, you know, maybe you may not have that same information easily available, and hoping that, you know, you find value out of what is being shared today. I know we got some lots of good topics that we're going to cover, so that's a little bit about me, and without further ado, I'm going to actually turn it to my speakers now. So this is going to be an address to all my speakers. So tell me a little bit about yourself, including what your area of focus is. And also please share 3 actionable tips that our audience can kind of take away and implement right away. So I guess I can get maybe Veena, if you want to go first, and then I'll call out the names as well as we go on.
I just joined, so sorry for the late because I didn't get the link. But
No
hi,
worries.
so founder and CEO of Beautifully Empowered Coaching and Consulting. So thank you so much, Apira. I know I worked with Apira as a client, so thank you so much for hosting this. I'm glad to be here, but I'm actually helping women, mid-career women, executive women, as to take control of their life, right? To create the life and career they love and deserve through life, career, and leadership development. So, as a career fulfillment leadership coach, I help passionate mid-career women and also men overcome burnout, right? Which is really important nowadays, and to transition into a rewarding 6-figure role. So it's just not about having that 6-figure role, but making sure you're happy in that role. It's more fulfilling for you, and you're achieving the impact and financial stability and success all at the same time, right? So using yet like intentional yet simple framework. So it's all about helping women going from the surviving aspect to making sure you're thriving, not only in your career, but in all areas of your life. So I've helped more than 20 plus women globally, not only help them navigate with confidence and ease, but secure their dream role and then also emerge as a visionary, empowered leader using my signature FEM authentic blueprint. So the 3 actionable tips that I would say is, I know a lot of people say that like similar things all the time, but the thing I always focus on is the foundation. The foundation is the key aspect, which is one thing is focusing on that mindset, the growth mindset. And I always say this because that's 90% of the reason why you get results in action is through what you're thinking, those positive thoughts. And it's hard, it's easy to kind of like go back and forth and say like, hey, I'm able to do this, I'm able to get a job, but then you come back and you're like, okay, I give up, right? And you need that persistence. So making sure that you approach your career pivot with a positive attitude and making sure that these challenges and setbacks are just to say that, hey, like this is just a learning curve and that you're always going to get to the next step. So even if you get rejected, say that, yeah, like this is a learning curve for me. How did I make progress? It's not about the outcome and the perfectionism, but how much progress did I make? How much skills did I develop over time, right? So it's easier to navigate this really quickly with resilience and determination. The second thing I would say is, since a lot of the people, I've done 3 career transitions, so I know how it's like to feel burnt out and overwhelmed. So making sure that you make time for your health, right? Your health is your first priority. It's your foundation. So integrating your well-being and your health every single day, even if it's like for 1 hour, making sure you take care of yourself, practicing self-love, practicing self-care every single day, managing your energy, because you need energy to take action and to implement that. And when you're just kind of overwhelmed, you're not going to get the results. You're going to end up expending so much energy applying for 100 applications, and that's not the way to go. So that's number 2. And number 3, it's very easy, and I've been there as well, to have shiny object syndrome, meaning like you're doing 5 or 6 things at once. Like there's traditional outdated methods, but the modern job search is extremely different, right? And hiring managers are just looking for your thought process. You don't need to be perfect, but how are you actually showing up every day? How much clarity do you have in your role? So making sure that you have one strategy. So a job search strategy that's simple yet attentional and just kind of executing on that every single day gives you the fastest results long term. So it might take time, but when you get the momentum, that's all you really need for the 4 months to get it really quickly. So these are my 3 things to just focus on, and you'll get the results quickly.
Amazing. Thanks, Veena. Michelle, do you want to go next?
Sure thing. Oh, I was already unmuted. Great. Glad I didn't make any embarrassing noises. No, I relate so much to what you both have already said. My career has been, it has not been traditional in any sense of the term. My degrees are my bachelor's degree is psychology. I did a master's in women's studies and philosophy, and then a PhD in design and human environment. And the jobs that I've had, my career has mostly been in higher education. And the jobs that I've had have been things like coordinating the writing center at the university, or managing the entrepreneurship center at the university. And also I've taught along the way. And really what it turns out is true for me, and I'm incredibly sweaty. It's very hot in the Pacific Northwest right now. A lot of us don't have air conditioning because for the 4 days out of the year that we need it, it's not really, anyway, so if I'm not always like damp, so bear with me.
No worries.
But what turns out is true about my career is that I'm a design thinker, and I am a skills transferer. I transfer my skill set from context to context. And so currently I'm transferring that skill into interview coaching. So I am an interview coach. I don't look at your paperwork. I might look at your resume to see what you've got on there, or we might look at cover letters just so I can get to know you a little better, more quickly. But I'm here for you once you've gotten that interview. And my focus is really working with folks who are thoughtful and introspective, and those of you who are really looking to invest in yourselves in terms of doing my signature 5-week program, for example, which is 5 weeks, and it's homework, and then we talk about it, and then it's homework and we talk about it, rinse and repeat. And it's not difficult. Like, I don't want to scare you off, but it really is a process of figuring out who you are as a professional, why you are that way as a professional, and what that means for you moving forward. And I also am I'm always looking for those transferable skills. So it's possible that eventually I'll niche down into those of us whose career path might not make very much sense at first. But I'm here to help you make sense of the different zigs and zags of what your career path has become. And then my 3 things are 3 ways to reframe interviewing as a conversation. That's a very big deal for me. I want you to be confident in your interviews. I want you to know at the end of your interview that you have communicated effectively about yourself, and that you have put yourself forward the way you wanted to have done that. And that can mean very different things for very different people. I'm also very focused on getting what you want out of your career, recognizing the realities of being women, of being people of color, of being different from that sort of absurd norm that is what many of us are being compared to. If you want a piece of that, I want to help you get it. And to be authentically yourself in a professional way, because it is possible. It's a rhetorical situation, and we want to navigate it effectively. So reframing interviews as conversations is a really big way to take off some of the pressure of that. Also, for some of us, conversations are also a little bit fraught sometimes, but not when you know what you're going to say. One of my, I guess we're calling them core memories now. One of my sort of foundational experiences was in the 8th grade. I had to give a talk in a class. And I was terrified of people in the 8th grade, and I still am. Don't tell people, but I really am, like, in social situations. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making it up as I go. But what I realized in the 8th grade is that I knew what I wanted to talk about. I was really interested in King Tut. And so I talked about King Tut's tomb. I don't know. And I had my little poster board, and I talked about this thing that I was interested in, and it was really eye-opening, and I remember it to this day. So reframing as a conversation, the 3 pieces of that. First of all, it's a conversation. It's not an exam. I think there's a lot of cultural baggage around interviews feeling like they're an exam, like there are some right answers. And if we don't know what these right answers are, then we're gonna fail, or that we need to somehow know what the right answers are. And I don't know about you, but that has never been helpful for me. That has always just made it terrible. And then I don't know what to say, because realistically, we can't possibly know what interviewers are looking for from us. I mean, we have some ideas. And we have some ideas of what not to say. I like to joke that there may not be any right answers for interviews. There's a wide variety of wrong ones. But in general, thinking about it as a conversation can be really helpful. So number 2, my action item is to treat those interview questions as conversational prompts. And what that does for us is it helps open up and helps us get past there's a right answer. And it also helps us get past that I don't have something on that specific nuance of whatever it is that they're asking, but you know what? I have something related to that. And so I have something to say. And that takes me to number 3, which is, instead of playing the guessing game of what questions are they going to ask me, and then making up a list of the questions that we imagine that they might ask us, and then making and memorizing a perfect answer to these questions, my strategy is to start from the very beginning. We're crafting stories. We're helping you identify what are the significant memories? What happened to you in the 8th grade that still you carry with you to this day to help you be successful? And we're going to put together stories so that you have something to say, packets of information that you can offer regardless of what questions. And it's, and that sounds really daunting. And I will also say that when you're working with me, we're not trying to come up with every possible thing. Like, it's not an exhaustive thing, but you need enough. You need enough stories about yourself. You need enough packets of information. You need enough humorous drop-ins to sprinkle throughout to get you through that hour or a couple hours or fourth round of interviews or whatever they've got going on for you. So yeah, that is, and I have more things to say in the next question, and I won't jump all over that, but and that's something else I would appreciate of those of you in the audience who aren't the speakers. Put a little note in the comments for us about what you're looking for. Like, why are you here, and how can we help you? I always like to see that. And I'm going to put my website and email in the chat. Okay, thanks. I'm going to go mute now.
Amazing. Thank you, Michelle. That was really insightful, and I appreciate you sharing all of that wonderful information. Kelly, maybe I'll have you go next, and then Ibiyemi, you can go after.
Right, I will. And if anyone joins us, you can let them in. I'm Kelly Tibbitts. I'm a life coach from New Hampshire, and I'm passionate about helping people stay in their aligned energy. So I think as we are moving through the different stages of our life, like every other speaker up here, I have one of those stories that makes more sense looking backwards than it did as I was walking forward. So I did a lot of different jobs, went to college, became an educator, moved into a ministry role, Now I'm a life coach and I work for a veterinarian. So my life has had lots of different experiences. But what I really do with people that work with me is I help you align your energy, because I think that is the most important thing, who we are before anything we do. So my little 3-part helpful tidbit, since I am Kelly Tibbitts, is to grab a cup of tea. TEA. The first thing you want to notice is your thoughts. So whether it's through breath work or meditation or putting on the song that helps you align, make sure you're taking a moment every day to just get what is in your brain out. It's amazing the thoughts that are on repeat that are creating the vibrations or feelings in our body, and we're not even paying attention to them. And so as we think about, changing careers, moving forward in our workplaces, what would it look like to show up enthusiastic, committed, excited, passionate? It's going to start with our thoughts. Number 2, I'm incredibly passionate that people understand you have different types of energy. You have mental, emotional, physical, spiritual energy. And so we don't do a real good job. I was a kindergarten teacher of explaining the different types of energy. We just say like, oh, I'm tired. And then you go to take a nap and your brain is racing because you have plenty of mental energy. You just ran out of physical energy. So noticing the difference between your mental, emotional, physical energy, and having a toolbox. So I know when one of my daughters had a concussion, we had to learn about what to do to rest her brain. Coloring was allowed. The phone was not. And so you might notice that, okay, when I'm really getting mentally exhausted, I need to put the phone away and put on some calming music, or even just get some art supplies out. And then the last thing is the A of awareness. I'm on Enneagram and Working Genius Coach, but I can work with you on human design. I can work with you in Strength Finders. I think the path forward for every human is to understand why we think and feel and do life the way we do. So if you'd like someone to partner with you to help you align your energy, I'm also passionate about being really affordable. My heart is to work with nonprofits and people who are going through transitional seasons, especially those empty nest moms that have poured all their energy into their kids. Now the kids are flying the nest. I want to help them find their purpose, right? One of my favorite leaders is named Kathy Heller, and her big idea that moved her into the world was the opposite of depression is purpose. And I know there's lots of different things behind depression, but do you know those people who forgot their purpose, right? And our purpose matters. So I love that we're in a space together where maybe the last role didn't work out, but that's okay. Let's get back into aligned energy and move forward to what you were created to do. So thanks, Apira, for having me.
Thanks, Kelly. That was wonderful. And Ibiyemi, do you want to go next?
Yes, absolutely.
Please.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. You have to excuse me. I'm actually in Nigeria right now. And when I accepted this meeting, in my mind, I forgot it was 5 p.m. EST.
Oh, no.
So it's about 10:30 at night.
Oh
So
my
there's a
goodness.
lot going on over on my end, but I'm happy to be here. My name is Ibiyemi, and I am a career and leadership coach. I've been in this space for about 10 years, but I started my career in diversity recruitment, supporting folks that had some type of barrier to employment. So new grads who had zero experience, newcomers to Canada who didn't have any Canadian experience, whatever that means. People that had disabilities and had challenges in getting into the workplace. But I was very much on the employer side, right? So my role was to match people up, move people forward in the process. And I found that a lot of people were making mistakes, right? And as a recruiter, it wasn't really my job to be able to say, hey, you should have presented this way, or that interview, the way you answer that question, maybe not tell that story. I really couldn't do that in the interview because I was the one that they were interviewing. So I started doing that outside of work. I would chat with people for 2-3 hours outside of work just to help people get through just career development and some of these, tough questions. And they would inevitably get the job. They would tell their friend and their brother-in-law, their sister. And all of a sudden, I was kind of doing this for free for about 2 years. And then a good friend of mine was like, you're really good at this. You should probably charge for this. So that's what I did. And in 2017, I started Foot in the Door Consulting. There's been lots of changes throughout. I did go into the university space, and I worked as a career coach, as a sales manager, as a manager of a career center for many years, and then burnt out, like everybody in that industry. I absolutely burnt out when you're supporting 400, 500 students, building curriculum, running budgets that are not a lot. Kind of forget to take care of yourself because your students are very, very important. And literally decided to move back home to Nigeria and take a chance on my business. It's been 10 months of me kind of full time in my business, and could not be in a much better place, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Everything that Kelly was saying, I was like, spot on, right? Where I focus is on people in the middle, believe it or not. So people that are, looking to transition from one season to the next season, which by the way is everyone. Just as a heads up, every single person going through some type of transition, there is a lot of uncertainty, right? You don't know what the next step is going to look like. There's a lot of expectation, right? So whether or not you got into your career because your mom said it was great, your friends were becoming doctors, or you just felt, oh, if I work on Bay Street and I'm in that pencil skirt, that's the goal, that's the dream. I remember when literally that was the dream for me. I'm like, I want to be downtown on Bay Street in a pencil skirt. That is not who I am. That has never been who I am. But
Right.
somehow that was the picture that I had in my head. And then I realized the practicality of being in a tube for 8 hours a day, that's not who I am. That has never been who I am. I've been an entrepreneur since before time, but I had no idea, right? And I was trying to kind of fit into specific molds. I was getting in trouble a lot in the corporate world where, people were saying, your hair is too loud, or you're this, or you're that, you're this, and you need to follow the rules, you need to all the things. And I just really couldn't be that person that people wanted me to be, which is why I started really helping people kind of step outside of those spaces. Because of the background that I'm in, I support folks that are in business, technology, creative industries. I love my creators. Are there any creators in the room? Absolutely love to talk to you. I think a lot of people think that creative people are kind of all over the place, but they're probably one of the most structured professionals I've ever met. Because when you're creative, you're an artist, a videographer, a photographer, a writer, from jump, you've been told that you're not going to make money in your career. So you're always like very focused on getting that next opportunity, getting that system made. Creative people are one of the most structured people I've ever met. Sorry, just aside. But those are the people I support. And again, it's people in the middle. So if you're in an unfulfilled job and you're looking for meaningful work, if you're burnt out and you're looking for wellness, if you are, kind of stuck in that individual contributor space and you want to become a first-time manager, because those are two different jobs. Just because you're good at sales doesn't mean you're going to be a good sales manager. This is just fact.
Absolutely, yeah.
And nobody prepares leaders. Literally no one. I literally did an MBA on leadership, entrepreneurship, became a first-time manager, and I was like, oh, this sucks a lot. And needed like a lot of help, and ended up getting, coaches to help me through that process. And then entrepreneurship. I am so passionate about entrepreneurship, right? A huge part of mine, and why we connected Apira, is helping people get started in their coaching business. I was that, writer, recruiter, down, supporting everybody, working in the career center, making zero money, by the way, and doing so much work, and really wanting to kind of branch out on my own and support people. And I finally figured out the model. And I want to be able to help people, actually get off the corporate race and kind of get into entrepreneurship if that's something that they want to do. So I have two packages: career transition and entrepreneurship. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. We can go through those details later. It doesn't really matter. But my 3 action items is very much kind of tied to my coaching philosophy. It's just 3 questions. Where are you at? Where do you want to go? How do you get there? Point A is where are you at, which is all about reflection. Up until this point, there's a lot of decisions that you've made about your career, where you went to school, what you studied, why you studied it, what you went to doing afterwards. All of those pieces make up who you are currently. And we really underestimate why we make our decisions. I think a lot of people want to think that they're making decisions aligned to themselves. But the stats say, at least in Canada, which is my market, 71% of people experience career regret, meaning they just had no idea. Like, friends, family, society, these are all the pressures that kind of make them go into that specific career. And it starts as early as like grade 9, just as a heads up. So always doing reflection to get that started. Where do you want to go? Getting a realistic picture of what the industry is. How many people in 2020 wanted to transition to tech? So many people. And now a lot of those people are unemployed and had no interest in the industry, right? Low key, myself included. There was a point where I wanted to be a sales. Oh my goodness. Sometimes you want to follow the money, right? You know what's right, and you just want to follow the right things. And because I was this good networking person, I actually got interviews. I got interviews with Salesforce, Twitter, LinkedIn. Every single time I was in those calls, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to make tech companies richer. Like, this is not who I am. But I almost did that, right? So really getting a realistic picture of what's out there is so important. So many times people are like, I want to go do this. And I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, what do you know about it? Who have you spoken to? What have you found out? And then immediately you see the cards fall apart where they're just like, well, I just saw it. They have flexible hours and free food. So that's going to wear off. That's going to wear off in like the first month. So I do a huge kind of like exercise around trying to figure out what people want to do. And then I send them out. The first rule of entrepreneurship 101 is get out of the building, get out of your head, get out of your space, and talk to people that are actually doing it. Because Instagram versus reality is a big thing. And lastly, how do you get there is just all the tools, right? So I like to say that I'm a half and half, 50% coach, 50% consultant, where I'm literally going to send you out with specific tools. Go research this, go have this conversation, join this particular community group, start this process, finish this resume, check this off. I have a coaching platform that I take people through, and it's very kind of like habit tracker, to-do list, like very dialed in with me and that person to get them towards that goal. And then also being realistic around the timelines. You are not going to transition into cybersecurity in 45 days. I don't care who tells you that you can. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Do not fall for those scams. I have so many clients that are paid thousands of dollars, $15,000 transition to an industry that they literally cannot transition to without like Ponzi schemes and like coaching scams and everything in between. So that is me. That's my program, and that's what I have to offer. If you want to chat with me, I'm going to put my information in the chat box. But that is kind of what I have to bring to this discussion. Thanks, Apira.
Amazing. Thanks, Ibiyemi. Okay, so we got a chance to listen to all of our speakers and kind of what their what they focus on, what they bring to the table. So amazing to hear how passionate. You can probably already tell, and like you can hear that through this. So I hope I did, and I hope you did too. So I'm really proud of the women here and the mission and what we're, what everyone here is trying to accomplish. So it's really great so far. So we're at about halfway through the event, and I want to make sure that we kind of cover some of the topics that we wanted to cover today. So I apologize if I have to like step in and if I cut you off at any point, but I'm going to go through the questions and make sure we have enough time to for everyone to kind of share their thoughts on them. And then we'll do the Q&A closer to the end of the discussion. So my next question is going to be about career clarity. So I'm going to actually, maybe I'll open it up to all of you. So whoever wants to chime in, you can, but I'll start. I'm going to start with Veena because I know both of us actually work together currently. Veena's my career coach and has been helping me kind of get some career clarity actually. So it's a great question for you. And I know you kind of talk in your program about Ikigai and things like that. So I was wondering if you'd be open to kind of sharing, how someone might get career clarity. Sorry, someone's trying to call me on my phone. Okay. Sorry, I was wondering how someone can get career clarity and how important is this to have? Yeah, so Veena, do you mind answering?
Of course. Yeah, career clarity is like very important, like Ibiyemi said, and it's the number one thing that people, when talk about like career stagnation, they're like, Veena, like, I don't know where to go from here, you know, like they just kind of directly go to the job search. And that's not the best thing to do, because you're going to end up being like in and out and stuck. So it's just, you're going to just fall apart. So the career clarity is very important. And it's the second step to the mindset aspect. So when you know like where you're going to go, so you have to know first of all, where you are now and exactly know where you want to go. So having a visual, like a vision board is super important. Like, what does that mean to you? So career clarity is, like we all talked about, it's not just about like the surface level of, I want like 6 figures, or I want work life, like I want that money, or I want that like flexibility. It goes deeper. And when you get career clarity, it's more about how do you define success for you? It's not about what your parents want, what your friends want, or society told me to work in tech, or I'm supposed to work for like Microsoft or Google. Like that's great, like the Fortune 100 companies, but what is it really important to you? Like what is the kind of work that matters to you? So it all starts from the internal, which is what I focus on as like your authentic power, like what is true to yourself. So success as in, do you want that work-life balance? Do you want more time with your family, or kids, especially if you're married? Work-life balance is very a priority. What does those top 3 priorities look like? What do you value? So in your next role, are you actually growing? Is it challenging for you? If it's not, why isn't? So tying it to your purpose, like as Kelly said, why do you want this next role? Why do you want this transition? What does this all mean to you? So getting that clarity is super important. And that's like your inner compass. That's your motivating factor. Once you have this set, like it's all gonna just, span, and it's gonna like really fall into place once you have that. So getting really clear. So writing down like maybe an exercise you guys can do in the next one day. This is what I tell my clients, and that's what I worked on with Apira is, what are your top 10 values that are important to you? Is it work-life balance? Is it growth? Is it family? Is it impact? If it's impact, what kind of impact do you want to make as a leader? So I work with mid-career leaders. Going from a technical to a strategic kind of a role is very difficult. It's hard to like navigate that. So what kind of leadership do you want to be? What kind of leader? What kind of vision do you want to do? So that's very important to get clear on. And also the Ikigai is something that is kind of like a map that shows that, how do I know that this role is for me? So understanding like, yeah, that's my purpose and mission. Those are my values. So what am I actually good at? Right. And this gets into the unique value proposition. And I really talk about this, and this is where my, area lies in, is everyone is going to apply for jobs. Everyone's transitioning, but why you? What makes you stand out, right? Each one of us has something unique about us. And you have to go within your strengths, your values, and your experience. Like there's one thing that I could say that is something unique about me that not any other candidate would have. Right. So this is super important to not only the job search, but finding the role that's the best fit for you. So I would say that it's like the very, very crucial point. And if this is not set and mastered, you will kind of fall apart as you're job applying, and you're like going to be career. You're going to be stagnant. So to get and master that is very important.
Okay, amazing. Just to be mindful of time, I'm going to move on to the next, to the question for Michelle, actually, and then Veena, I'll come back to you if we time permits, if that's okay. So Michelle, how would you answer the most popular "tell me about yourself" question?
Yeah, I think that's this is a great question to talk about because I hate that question. I think it's difficult. And what I would do, but I do in my program, I absolutely do cover it because we're gonna get that question. Like it's, oh good, you like it, okay. It does give you a good opportunity though to give your personal elevator pitch, and that's how I frame it. And whenever I talk about elevator pitching, whether it's in entrepreneurship support or whether it's in interview support, the elevator pitch means as many different things as there are people talking about elevator pitches. So when I'm talking about elevator pitch, I am using it to mean a little statement about yourself that answers a couple of questions who are you as an employee and why, and how does that make you a good fit for the job that you're applying for? It ties in really well to what you were saying, Veena, about value proposition, like because once you figure out what the sort of overarching thing is about yourself, that's then what you will be able to talk about, and that will end up being the unique value proposition, right? So for me, it's that I'm a design thinker, which means I'm a problem solver and I'm a skills trainer. Like that's the umbrella that kind of links together all of the disparate parts of my career, including some stints in sales, I will have you all know, which I did not enjoy. But yeah, it's the elevator pitch, and I do, because I do think it's valuable to be able to sum yourself up in a few words. And I do think it is helpful. And I think it is useful far beyond the interview context, whether you're going to professional conferences, whether you're networking, like being able to speak concisely about yourself in super broad terms is super, super helpful. And I've got a little template. I think I might make it into a Mad Lib. But basically, you know, maybe we start with a humorous drop-in, and then you give that sort of primary characteristic of yourself, that overarching, that thing that kind of defines you a little bit. And then you might talk about your experiences, some of your primary experiences, again, in very, like what is the collective term for your experiences, not getting too much into the details. And then talking about what you're looking for or what you're ready for, and then have a way to describe your goal. This is where you might use the word challenge. And then you might use some words like, I am excited, or I am curious about this position because of the reasons that you want this job. And then talk about how it fits into your future goals. So it's pretty cliched. And I think that's part of why it can be so excruciating to put one of these together, is that it can be very cliched. But it's an example of a genre. And I talk a lot about genre. It's all about the rhetorical analysis for me. Who are we as the messenger? What's the message we're conveying? What does it take to convey that message effectively to whoever our audience might be? And so it is a genre of writing that it is a formula, and it is effective, or we wouldn't use it. So, and I would love to hear what other coaches have to say about sort of the elevator pitch or the answer to that question, because I also think, like, what did I start out by saying? Like, that is my response. That's how I look at it. But there is no, again, yes, sure, there are potentially wrong answers, ineffective. I prefer effective and ineffective versus good or bad. And usually, in lieu of right or wrong, I think communication can be effective or ineffective. But is it bad writing? I don't know if it's bad writing, but I can tell you I don't know what you mean. So that kind of thing. But yeah,
Okay.
If you're curious about this template, feel free to email me and I could send it your way.
Oh, that's so generous. Thank you, Michelle. So everyone, please feel free to take advantage of that offer. I think you're absolutely right. Elevator pitches are tricky. Like, I've learned about elevator pitches, and like I find it frustrating, and I've read it, and I feel like it's a whole exercise on its own, and you do have to dedicate some time to really do it and understand it, and I think it does tie into the unique value proposition, like you were saying. And so a lot of great points. I really appreciate everything you're sharing, and I totally been there. So next question, I'm going to direct it to Ibiyemi. What advice could you offer, or would you offer someone considering a career transition into tech, for example, in terms of how they can position themselves so they don't have to start over from scratch?
Yes. So this is a great question. And this is one that I get all the time. And the response is there is going to be a level of starting from a different place, right? Because let's be realistic. If someone has 10 years on you in a specific industry, they have 10 years on you. That's just the reality, which is why I said, do not believe all these scams about I can get you in 45 days and you're going to make the six figure. It's just not true. It's just, I will keep repeating it. I've seen too many people scammed by coaches, so I will keep repeating it. First thing I want you to get your mind right is around the idea that it may not be commensurate, right? If you think about making any type of change, any type of transition, when you're going from being a teenager to an adult, it's hard. There's friction, there's growing pains. When you're going from that, first job into being a manager, there's friction, there's tension, there's growing pains, right? So I think my first kind of piece of advice is get ready to be uncomfortable a lot, right? Like, it's just, you're not going to know the lingo, you're not going to know the people, you're not going to know necessarily how to get there, but that's part of the process. I think a lot of people just expect to scale through because they see the success stories on Instagram, on LinkedIn, but they forget that like it takes people to get from like one place to the next place. And I think honestly understanding that like rejection is part of the process, understanding that misalignment is part of the process, understanding that you may have to take a step back is part of the process, right? So that's the first piece of advice I would say. It's just the mentality of that. The second that I would say is really trying to make a good transition. What I mean by that is, and this is like, I see this mixed up all the time. We have function and we have industry, right? Function is the work that you're doing every single day. So sales, marketing, right? Consulting, all of those things are function. Those are the specific work pieces of work that you're doing. Career coaching, that's the function. Industry is all of the employers and companies in that specific space. So Bell, Rogers, and Telus, they're all part of the telecommunications industry. PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, they're part of consumer packaged goods, right? TD, BMO, RBC, banks. I think really understanding how those two things mix up. And then you have the weird ones where the function is also the industry. So you have things like project management, where it's like, it's a function of a role, there's actually a whole industry behind project management, right? Or you have things like marketing, where you can work for a marketing agency, and marketing is the industry because you're providing marketing services, but it's also the function of the work that you're doing. There's three types of transitions you can make, right? You can go industry to different industry, keep the same function, right? So I'm working in HR right now in, banking. I'm looking to transition. I'm going to do HR in telco. I have the subject matter. I'm just moving it from my understanding in this space to this new industry, right? So you can sell to the employer, hey, the subject matter is a subject matter. I have it. I can be a good asset for you in this new industry. That's transition one. Second one is function to function, right? So switching functions. Sorry, that's what I wanted to say. Switching functions. Thank you. I like how everyone's nodding along. I really appreciate it. Switching from one function to another function. Keep the same industry, right? So I am a project manager working in technology. I'm really looking at product management, which is very different, by the way. I think a lot of people interchange product and project, very different kind of work, but you understand the lingo. You understand the companies in those spaces. You understand the type of product they're trying to build. You understand how a tech company works, right? You understand kind of like the hierarchy, because their language is very different. That tech industry specifically is a very different space. They have different names for things. So marketing in tech is called growth, not marketing. HR in tech is called people and operation. Like, if you don't have the lingo right, you're not even gonna be applying to the right jobs, right? So being able to say, you know what, I have a really good background in sales, and I'm really looking to get into this particular industry. How do you translate your sales experience here into a different, like, closer related transferable skill, like Michelle was talking about, but within the same context, so that you're not kind of going kind of out of left field. And then the last transition is the hardest to make by far, which is new industry, new function. You don't have the lingo, you don't have the background, you don't have the context of the organization, you don't have the context of the industry, and you don't have the skill. It's extremely hard to make that type of transition, right? And I never, ever, ever recommend it, but it can be done, right? I remember I was working with this client who was an actuary. If you know what like an actuarial scientist is like, it's like an insurance, like mathematician, statistical. they basically predict like things like the pandemic. Like it's a very, very niche type of industry, right? He grew up, you have to take like several exams to be an actuary. You have to keep recertifying, keep recertifying. He was working at PwC, so in consulting, but as an actuary. So he had lots of clients in the same industry, consulting, da da da. He wanted to do like fashion. And he wanted to do, I know, sometimes
Wow.
people come to me and I'm like, holy smokes. He wanted to do fashion as like his long game, but he really recognized that he really loved like sales. He really loved people management, client development, like sales, right? So how are we going to make that transition from being an actuary, which is very specific in a very specific industry, to sales, which is kind of broad, and he wanted to transition into tech. So I said, hey, actuaries use technology. They use different types of technologies. Like make a list of the 10 different technologies that you use as an actuary, right? A lot of those technology tools have salespeople, right? Business development people. Michelle, you're following me there? They have business development people that are selling this technology to other actuaries. But most of the time, salespeople haven't usually used the product that they're selling. So now you have the context of, I've used this like charting tool. It's pretty crap, but as an actuary, this particular tool has worked for me. Hey, actuary at this other company, get your organization to invest in this tool that has worked for me. I'm an actuary, I can tell. So we were able to try to get him close to sales to then build up those client relationship management skills, those types of things. And then he was able to launch his fashion business on the side. It takes time, and it takes
Wow.
creative like maneuvering and understanding and people development and understanding all those pieces there, but it can be done, which is why I'm saying like working with a coach is the best thing that you'll do when you're making these types of transitions, because you're just not going to know how to figure it out, right? So that's my piece of advice.
Okay. That definitely sounds tricky. To be able to do it on your own. Like I like how you use like your ninja skills to like connect that. So that was amazing. So it's 5:53 and my next question is for Kelly. So we want to make sure that we have enough time
Yeah, I'll
for
go
some
very
questions again.
quickly. Okay.
Thank you,
So
Kelly.
I can't
Appreciate
do a
it.
2-minute Enneagram, but what I really love helping people understand is why they think, feel, and do life the way they do. And we are so lucky to live in this day and age where we have access to all kinds of tools that can help us understand ourselves. And so, one thing I would just ask you right now to notice: do you often say, I know, I think, I feel? If you can notice that, it's going to serve you, and then start paying attention to the people around you because they might say it differently. I process all of life as a feeler. Apira and I and Shira were in a group long enough to know Apira is like feeling it in her body. She knows, and Shira thinks. And so just, it'll give you some grace that you're trying to have a very logical conversation because you're a thinker and someone else is just in their feels and a different person is just like in their gut knowing, and having your own back is key, especially as a woman. So I just personally want to thank all of you. I took so many notes. I've learned so much. I hope we get to do this again. So find your path to self-awareness is my big word.
I feel like we
Amazing.
just need to get together periodically just to sort of hype each other up a little bit. Whether or not other people are there is, maybe great, but not necessary.
I agree.
I agree. Agreed. Yeah. I could try to make that happen. But absolutely, Kelly, what you're saying with awareness, I think that's such a tricky, again, another thing that's so tricky because awareness, like I share this example with you all the time, but like we talked about the whole present, past, future self, and I learned about being the present self when I was talking, when I attended one of your coaching sessions, and that was like a game changer for me because I really learned that I'm most productive when I'm present and I'm like live with someone. Otherwise, I'd just be procrastinating till the last minute. So that was really helpful. I'm gonna open it up to the Q&A, and then if we have time, I know we only have 5 minutes, but I'll open it up to Q&A now. I'm just going to share my screen. I saw that there was some questions in the group already, so we can take a look at that. And then also there's a little oh my gosh, my Zoom's all weird. There's a QR code here. So for anybody that wants to go there, you can scan it, go to slido.com, put in that hashtag, and you can enter the your questions through that if you don't want to unmute. But I can also while that's happening, I'll ask the questions that are in the chat as well. So I saw one here that someone had mentioned. How do we find out what we really want? Is fear to fall, or is it by taking, or is it risk in order to get where we are going? So I think trying to distinguish between, is it fear or is it just risk? Does anybody want to answer that question?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so how do you tell, like, I guess I'm assuming what this question means is how can you tell if something new is it like fear, and you should stay away from it? I guess if you're, that's you want to stay away from it, or is it just like a little risk that's okay? It's like a challenge, it's a hurdle. How do you kind of distinguish that, I guess, is what I'm understanding.
So, I mean, the very mere fact that you're asking if it's fear is probably fear, right? If you have to ask and say, "Is this fear?" You're afraid. Like you've
Right.
already passed. Is this fear? You're probably
True.
afraid. I don't know that fear means stay away, but I'm also a very different person. I do things afraid all the time, but I don't know that it necessarily means stay away. I think it's about taking calculated risks. So if you're going to take a risk, like try and set up yourself in a way that you can take the best risk, right? Like in the scenario that I mentioned before about transition, like it's hard already. Why would you try to make the hardest transition by yourself? Like it's just, it doesn't have to be that hard, right? There's people that it's literally their job to help you through these things, right? It's the same way you would go to a doctor. Like you need expert advice, right? And there's no shame in it. There's no stigma in it. It doesn't mean anything other than it actually makes a lot of sense to seek out help, right? When you're making any type of change, right? So if you're already asking yourself, is it fear? Is it risk? You need someone to help you dissect that and work through all of those thoughts with. And it doesn't mean anything about who you are. I feel like I need to keep saying that because as someone that believes in coaching and has hired many coaches in the past, is a coach, I think that sometimes there can be a lot of stigma around getting help. I mentioned earlier that, I burnt out last year. I literally had to get like 6 or 7 different professionals to help me. I had a career coach, I had an MD, I had a therapist, I had a financial advisor, I had, an entrepreneurship coach, a nutritionist, naturopathic medicine, like everybody, like help a sister out. Anybody that can help me out to help me go from, point A to point B is what you're looking for. So to answer that question, if you're feeling fear, you probably just need to talk it out.
Okay. Thank you, Ibiyemi. I'm gonna share just because it's 5:59, so if people are willing to stay on for a few minutes, that'd be great. And then so we can answer maybe one more question. I'm gonna share the slide too, just in case we don't get you do have more questions and you want to reach out to anybody. You have everyone's links are here, so take a picture, screenshot, or anything. And if you want to reach out to any of your speakers, feel free to do so afterwards. Just quickly, I know it's 6, but I'm just gonna throw in a quick question. And if anybody needs to drop off, feel free to do so. I had it right here. I'm a university student graduating next year in marketing and entrepreneurship, working on co-op and studying currently, but I haven't found what I really want to do post-grad. This probably ties into career clarity. Does anybody have any recommendations? Michelle, or I don't know if you're speaking. Okay. maybe it's me. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Gosh, I have you locked out. Oh, okay. Does that work?
Aha!
Okay.
Success! Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have been wanting to
Sorry.
answer this question this whole time, so thank you. I was that person. I am that person approximately every 2 to 4 years. Like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And my tips for this are do really, really well at whatever you're doing now, whatever that is. Keep pursuing things that are interesting to you. Make sure everybody in your life, all the helpful people in your life, make sure everybody knows that you are like open to work, as they say on LinkedIn. And then take interesting opportunities that arise. And I mean, I have always really deeply admired the people who, when they were 8 years old, they knew they wanted to be a firefighter, and then they grew up and they be a firefighter, and they're a firefighter now, and that's perfectly, like, I don't know how that works. Like, I would love to have that kind of just like, I don't even know. I mean, it sounds boring also to do something my whole life, so that's not really going to happen. But anyway, you're going to be fine is the other piece of this. You're going to be just fine.
I was just gonna add, take the pressure off. It sounds like there's a lot of pressure in that question. Like even just in the writing of it, where it's like you really don't have to have it figured out. Like, first of all, the job you're gonna do in 10 years probably doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
Like, literally take the pressure off and figure out your next step. And exactly what Michelle said, and like literally like doing the things that you're doing well, like making sure that you're doing that as well, and then taking interesting opportunities. And then if you don't know what that is, just do an audit of your day. As you're currently in your co-op, go through your day and just ask yourself, what am I enjoying? Like, did I really love spending 2 hours on that Excel sheet? Some people are like, yeah, Excel's my jam. I was not one of those people. Just really doing that audit, because you never know where you like Kelly has been mentioning, where your energy is just going to be so like drawn to, and you're in flow and you're doing it, and you can do this for hours and hours and hours, and just do more of that and less of the stuff that you don't like to do, like Kelly.
And that's why I wanted to hop on. There's a really great tool called the Working Genius, and Pat Lencioni is just somebody who's worked in organizations forever, and he's discovered that there are things we do that give us energy, and there are things that we do that deplete us. And so, the reason that I'm a coach and found coaches is you can't always do the test. Sometimes the test works, but sometimes you've got your second grade teacher's voice in your head, and that's what's answering the questions and not really your true self. But trust that you can figure out, like, I love that. Audit your day. What's giving you energy? What's not giving you energy? And that's really the hard part, is if your thought is, this promotion is better for me, and yet you're a people person and the promotion is going to put you in a room by yourself with numbers and you're not a number person, is that best for you? So as much as possible, becoming somebody who knows themselves, but trust that you can audit, you can ask people around you, you can practice, you can do things as a volunteer, and start to notice, this depletes me. Like being with you guys tonight, so energizing. I want to do more of this. Apira, thank you so much. How fun was this? But for other people, this would be really hard and exhausting, right? And I just want to celebrate you for a moment. I think you did a fantastic job of preparing this, of getting us all the emails. And so I just think you should really celebrate you, that you did the thing I think that you're really good at. And because of that, there was this joy and this connection. That's what we're really going for, right? Is to do the things that we enjoy doing with other people to help us with the things that are hard. And so nobody can do everything. And like, allow yourself the grace to do more of what brings you joy.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you for saying that, Kelly. So I know we're 6:05, we're 5 minutes past 6. So and thank you everybody for staying with us. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join today and for hearing everybody speak. It's been so amazing. And you're right, Kelly, I really enjoyed all of this. So I hope we can do more of it. And, if we have a few more questions here that we didn't get to, but I've saved the chat, and what I'll do is I'll maybe send out the questions to our group and then contact you afterwards and send you the answers that our group has to share. So thank you so much for joining. If it's possible for the speakers to stay back, that'd be great. Michelle suggested we could take a little group picture, and I really like that idea. But to everybody else, feel free to hop off. Thank you so much for joining today, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck out there.
Good luck, guys.
Way past my bedtime.
Okay. I know. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so
You might
sorry for
have to
keeping
remove
you.
because sometimes people like walk away, so it could just be
Oh,
they. I know that
yes,
happens
you're right.
sometimes in groups I'm in, like you start it and then you go in a different room.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay.
Can I just speak for 1 second? So I met Apira in 2021 and she didn't know what she wanted to do. But I think our second or third week together, she said, I think I might like to help people transition in their career. And your first person was your mom. And I just want to celebrate you tonight. Look how far you've come from not knowing at all to hosting an incredible event. I think that's amazing.
Thanks, Kelly. I
Yeah,
really appreciate it. Yeah. Go ahead,
yeah,
Veena, yeah.
because I worked with Apira, and I know, like, I can see the confidence in her.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was like, when
I
I
love
first got
this.
to know her, like, Apira was like, yeah, I think I can do this. Like, and we worked on her confidence for a while. Like, put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone. And I
But
see people.
Apira, you could run this for people. Your emails were excellent. Like all the back end part, you were really good at. The emails you sent us, I think you could use this in some way to help other people. Because what was easy for you is hard for most of us. So it was
Yeah.
fantastic. I learned so much
Thank
tonight
you.
from all of you. So thank you.
Me too.
Do-
I'm sorry.
Sorry, do you think that
Okay,
people
go
would
ahead.
pay to ask us questions just in a Q&A kind of context? Because
Well,
I
and
think
here's like my coach always says, like, you need to grow the people to, like, through the free to the point that they want to then pay you for the exchange, the change that already took place, but I mean, they might, right? Like, what a great opportunity to have a bunch of people together, but it might be something like you do a few free over the summer and then people start to say, oh, this is somebody that I'd love to work with.
I think you
I
also have to get
agree.
super specific with the topic, right? I'm currently doing a bunch of sales boot camps right now, and it's like you got to know exactly who you're speaking to, exactly what the topic is, and exactly what they can walk away with.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, you want somebody to look through your sales and marketing and just feel like I literally can't walk away from this offer. Like, it's just exactly who I am. It's speaking to me. I know exactly what I want, and I need to be in this space. But you want to do it in an empowering way. I feel like I see a lot of, again, coaching scams where they're preying on like people's vulnerabilities. But what you're doing there, if you're preying on people's vulnerabilities, you're attracting like victims. And then you gotta, like, it's so hard to like walk through that type of coaching when you're working with someone that is just really in the need of like a therapist, like, rather than a coach, right? Because coaching is hard, right? You have to do a lot of activity as well. So I think we can definitely monetize on this, but you would have to get very super specific on what it is that you want to do, who it is that you want to talk to, what it is that you're going to walk away with, all of that.
Yeah, I think there's potential for sure. Sorry, Veena, I interrupted you.
Like,
I'm
I'm just agreeing with like Kelly on, because I'm doing the free weekly master classes, and I give a lot of like information for 60 minutes, but sometimes I'm like, should I monetize this or not? Because it's a lot that we're giving out. But like she said, I think do it free for some time until they get to really know you and they have the valuable stuff, and then do it as an evergreen or like monetize it. And I think that's the best way to do this.
Or as a pipeline to your paid program.
Yeah,
Free
exactly.
webinars work every time,
True.
right?
That's what I do. Yeah,
Online.
just sell the offer at the end of the masterclass or the email marketing. Yeah, that works, which
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of coaches do.
Right.
Because they've seen you coach live. They already know that, oh, this is going to be worth my money. And then
Exactly.
you give them something and they're like, oh, and I can work with this person, right? It's
Exactly.
that's sometimes you get all the way to the end of these and you're like, I want to be, and they're like, I'm not taking any clients, which has low-key been me for like months. But
It's okay. You got a wait
myself out
list.
a
That's
little
good.
bit. But I think
No
I'm gonna
worries.
start taking clients soon. It's just so busy. I don't know. It's just so
Yeah,
busy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree.
it is. I mean, I really like this, and I know I opened up a chat, but I'll try to create something where we can all, maybe that all of us, we have our emails, and maybe I can do a Gmail chat, or I don't know what, but hopefully we can stay in touch, and I will send you the recording. So, like you said, if you want to kind of start that free thing, and Ibiyemi, you told me like credibility is important, right? And so kind of posting up this type of seminars so people hearing you speak, I think will be really great in helping with that credibility and the free events like you all are saying. So I'm gonna take a quick picture if that's okay. And then I won't keep you too long. I know it's already so late for
Apira,
you,
do you want to just
Ibiyemi,
like
so
Control 4 so that your camera's not in it?
oh, Control 4. I have a
Is that
Mac. Is
what,
that
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Command
Yeah,
Shift 4?
Yeah.
Command
Shift.
4?
I just did my little command.
Yeah, I did mine own too. So
Yeah, I got some. If any of them are
It
really good,
was,
I'll send them around.
oh yeah, send it to me because I don't know if this has worked for me or not. I'm still
Okay.
figuring it out. But thank you all again. This was amazing. I'll send you the recording, and on the maybe I'll send out those questions I think some people wanted answered as well, if you don't mind. And hope to speak to all of you again soon.
Thank
thank
you.
you,
Thanks,
Apira, for
everybody.
Thank
hosting us.
you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.